Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports podcast that does not apologize for 2017 championship rings. I am your host, Ross Bolen, and it's been a minute. We have a lot to talk about today. I'm wearing my Texans hoodie because I didn't watch the game, but it turns out we won. We beat the Titans. I don't think anybody watched the game. In fact, I haven't had anybody bring up the Titans-Texans game to me, which might be the first time in several years, maybe since the inception of the franchise, that the team has gotten so depressing that a win doesn't result in me having at least one conversation through text message with a group text about that win and what occurred. And this is a division rivalry against a solid Titans team with a good record. Everybody knows we are trash. We have openly acknowledged that at this point, I think. But I had to wear my... I'm not going to get many opportunities to open this show with Texans talk this season, or probably ever, because our ownership is inept. But I also have this hoodie that I really did like back in the Matt Schaub era when we had Andre Johnson and some pride left in our franchise. And I figure, well, fuck it, I'll bust it out today because we did something good. We did a thing. Look at us. Look at us, huh? Who would have thought? Not me. But we beat the Titans. We won a football game against a good team. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. It's actually detrimental to the health of the franchise long term. But it is a thing that occurred. Therefore, why not start the show with some positivity? Some Texans positivity, a rare thing in this world. Holy shit, we still suck, though. I don't have any real hope to distribute to you today regarding the Texans. Therefore, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I will just be thankful for the win and move the fuck on. Today's episode is brought to you by BetQL Daily. I started betting on sports back in college, and I quickly learned how elevated the sports viewing experience is when you've got money riding on the game, not just your feelings, right? And frankly, when your teams are as bad as ours are right now in Houston, betting on the games can be one of the only ways to salvage the viewing experience at all. I've been enjoying the heck out of a good sports bet ever since I got started in college. Do you feel like the last one out when it comes to sports betting? Don't know where to start? BetQL Daily, sponsored by FanDuel, is the must-listen show for sports bettors and sports fans alike. BetQL Daily. You can understand where the market is moving, which smart bets are out there, and have some fun listening while you're at it. The hosts, Joe Ostrowski and Joe Giglio, serve up wagertainment. It's entertainment mixed with wagering, you see. And all the sports talk you love with the betting insights you need each weekday if you're a huge sports bettor. There's no better show to listen to than BetQL Daily with Joe and Joe. If you miss out on earlier games, the Joes have you covered there too with recaps from some of the biggest recent moments in sports. And again, they're just constantly keeping their pulse on the betting market. They're fun and authentic with great takes. Their insights are awesome. So again, if you're not sure where to start with sports betting and you're looking to get in, start with BetQL Daily, the podcast presented by FanDuel. Listen weekdays, 9 a.m., noon Eastern on Odyssey, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. BetQL Daily for all your sports betting podcast needs. In other, what could be considered positive Houston sports news, Justin Verlander has re-signed with the Houston Astros. This one kind of came out of nowhere. After the whole controversy of Verlander not being present during the season and the playoff run, and then them wanting to have him throw out the opening pitch at the World Series, and the players coming out and saying, like, we don't think that makes a lot of sense, and then the media running with that story and being like, well, there's clearly beef, and Verlander's clearly out, and I think we all just assumed that was the case. And just another reminder that most of the media, most of sports media is complete horseshit. And these people don't really know what they're talking about most of the time. And I'll get into an example of why a little bit later on in today's show that's specific to Houston and our current absolute lack of positive things to talk about when it comes to our sports teams. Therefore, you have to manufacture, this is what these media people feel. They have to, well, now I'm getting into it now, so fuck it, we're doing it now. We're doing it live, Bill O'Reilly style. They manufacture headlines and storylines and narratives so that they have something to talk about no matter what. And why no matter what? Because often there are lulls in individual cities, such as Houston right now, where the biggest news of late is that we, obviously made Correa an offer that he rejected, and we know just about how much money he's going to get. There's younger guys than him that are raising the bar in terms of shortstop price right now. It's a fluid situation. We don't know what he's going to do yet, and we're playing the wait and see game. There's not much else to say about the Correa situation, and anybody who tells you they know its details is probably full of shit, right? By the way, I got a text message sent to me of a picture of Jeff Lunau and Carlos Correa having lunch in Houston, right? Y'all saw this online. It went crazy on Twitter. The photo of him sitting there with our former AJ Hinch, with AJ Hinch, not Lunau, sorry. Carlos Correa and AJ Hinch were having breakfast, lunch, brunch, whatever. And a buddy of mine texted me a photo of them sitting together at the table, the actual photo that ended up going viral. And I was like, well, before I put this up, and it was nowhere yet, I was like, get permission from him because we already have had the whole LMJ debacle here on this show. I'm like double checking with people now, like, are you sending this to me because you're aware that this is my literal job and I'm going to use this to inform our fan base about what's going on? And he didn't get back to me in time, and then his buddy was squeamish and was like, nah, I'm worried about it because it's like his friend's boss or something that took the photo. It ends up going viral on Twitter anyway, but that is just to say that once again, I am plugged in. And you'll just have to take my word for it, I suppose. There's no way for me to prove that story, frankly. Now that I've said it out loud, I'm realizing this. But what me and my friends say often, and it's a phrase that I kind of coined after watching the movie Blood Diamond. All right, there's a point in Blood Diamond where Leonardo DiCaprio explains, this is Africa. Basically, everything here is fucked and there's no fixing it. This is Africa. TIA is the phrase that he says they use in Africa. TIA. I took that and related it to Houston sports and started saying TIH every time something just like inexplicably shitty would happen to one of our sports teams, which, as we all know as Houston sports fans, is commonplace. I would say TIH. I put up the GIF on Twitter of Leonardo DiCaprio saying, God left this place a long time ago. This is Africa. God left this place a long time ago. I say, this is Houston. God left this place a long time ago, as related to sports. And that is where we are at. I mean, we went so quickly from 2017's World Championship with the Astros, Deshaun Watson riding high with the Texans, looking like we're actually going to become a legitimate Super Bowl contender with a real quarterback for the first time in franchise history. The Rockets have one of the best three players in the NBA, I would still argue. If you were to start building a team right now, he's a top 5 and arguably guy you're going to pick from, James Harden, as the head of the leader of the Rockets. I mean, the whole city and sports situation was phenomenal coming out of Harvey, coming off the Astros championship. And then it was all downhill from there with the trash cans and the fucking scandals and Deshaun Watson and his horniness and James Harden going to Brooklyn. And it's just been thing after thing after thing. And Correa now, we don't know if we're going to get him back. And it's like we're now the city that has to take meaningless NFL wins and re-signing 40-year-old pitchers as our huge moments of happiness. Therefore, if this is your full-time job to talk about Houston sports all day, every day, on Twitter, on the radio, on a podcast, every day, all day, dude, you have to come up with stories for people to care about because these teams generally are not fun to discuss at the moment. Nobody wants to relive a World Series loss over and over. Nobody wants to talk about the fucking Texans because they're a nightmare team where even after we win, the city, we don't even know. Nobody's watching anymore. The season has been thrown in the trash can and then banged by all of us. We do not give a fuck. The Deshaun Watson thing has derailed this franchise to a point of irredeemability. We have passed the point of no return. It is fucking over. And the Rockets are in full rebuild mode. Not it's not like I thought it was going to be. I said, at least we'll get to enjoy the fun, the growth of the player. No, we're not even there yet. We don't even have enough good players with enough natural NBA level talent to successfully play basketball right now. That's not what they're not even playing basketball. It's just 5 dudes under 25 running around scared for their lives while Coach Silas is desperately attempting to communicate some message to them. None of us can decipher what that message is at this point. And again, when we get a win, we take it, but there's nothing going there. We're looking at trying to get the number 1 draft pick again, a number 1 draft pick again. You know what I mean? We're looking for the next huge piece to add. There's nothing that's going to happen in this season that long-term is really that relevant. And even if you're a huge diehard who pays attention to every game, watches every minute, never misses a play of the Rockets, come on, man. You got to be able to admit to yourself that this isn't the season. So if you're getting your hopes up or getting disappointed after losses, you really got your eggs in the wrong basket. And that's why I didn't watch the Texans-Titans game, and I don't even give a fuck that we won, because I'm not putting my eggs in Cal McNair's basket anymore. It might be Thanksgiving instead of Easter, but that big fat Easter bunny is not getting Papa Bill's eggs. These are mine. And I'm choosing to put them in certain places, and the Texans' basket is a fucking death pit. Nobody wants to invest in that team. But even if you're a Rockets fan, even if it is a franchise that you love and enjoy and still like the ownership of and think generally is headed in the right direction and has great young pieces that are exciting to watch and God knows Jalen Green can fly. But holy hell, this is not an enjoyable experience if you're watching every Rockets game right now. It's the opposite. And if there's anywhere that you need proof in that pudding, go check Twitter. Houston Rockets Twitter is a miserable place right now. It's mostly infighting about just how shitty we are. That is not fun. TIH. That's why this show will stay real and turn shit into shiny, funny stuff that makes you smile. And try to focus on the positive, like Verlander's return, which is fucking huge. And if you're like, well, he's old and fuck you, he didn't even show up for... No, dude, shut up. Did you look at what was missing in the World Series? Do you see why we lost? We need pitchers, bruh. More pitchers that aren't rookies or just were rookies. If we're talking about next season, we need veteran pitching leadership and a healthy Lance McCullers Jr. to start, who, by the way, should still be our ace, obviously. Verlander is that old now. And this is $20 million to be number 2. So he needs to stay healthy. He needs to come out and throw a baseball for as many games as possible because we need pitching on this team. And if we lose Correa, I think that's one of the first places they look. We've seen they have started to actively promote this young up-and-coming shortstop whose name is slipping my mind, who's in our farm system, who's just been promoted, who is like their guy they're looking to replace Correa with. Like the next Carlos Correa as they're seeing it, or at least as they're starting to try to promote him in the media, in the local media, to get Correa maybe thinking a little bit about staying here and locking in his position. I don't really know. Scared of this kid or something. I don't really know. But there's stuff going on behind the scenes, and it's just impossible to say. We're just in a weird spot as a city right now with sports. We're paying John Wall $40 million to not play. We're paying Deshaun Watson, I can't even remember how many $1 million to not play. We have got to be the only city in the United States that's paying 2 A-list Tier 1 athletes, 2 of the most famous people in their respective sports, top dollar salaries to not step foot on the playing field or the court. In whatever version of veteran leadership we were supposed to get out of John Wall that led to a watchable product on the basketball court did not fucking happen. So again, I'm happy to have Verlander back, but he needs to stay healthy. And he needs to pitch and be there for this to matter at all. So I'm partially stoked. It's a sort of positive thing to be able to talk about in the Astros offseason, the young offseason, but there's a lot of buts. A lot of buts. Some of them are hairy. And that brings us to our next read. Today's episode is also brought to you by the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world, Manscaped. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, 4.0. This thing has a fucking flashlight on it. You can trim your downstairs mix-up in the dark while you cry about how bad our sports teams are. You love that, don't you? Go to manscaped.com. Use the code BTC when you check out to support the podcast, and you'll get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. They also have a weed whacker. It's called the Weed Whacker, and it's for your nose hair and your ears hair. And I'm 34 years old and just shaved my nose hairs for the first time with this weed whacker, and I feel like I can breathe for the first time since I was a small boy. So if you weren't aware, that, like, you remember the first when you learned, like, oh, I need to do something about my pubic region on occasion so that it's not a disgusting forest of sin. This is the moment, perhaps, for you that you learn your nose is also a place that must be maintained, and Manscaped can help you with that with the Weed Whacker, but their Lawnmower 4.0 has everything you need for the downstairs mix-up, your shaft and your berries, as they were, twig and berries, shaft and balls. Manscaped.com, code BTC, 20% off, free worldwide shipping. And if you're a woman listening and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Well, is there a man in your life or a man that might be near your life that you could imagine perhaps has disgusting downstairs mix-up going on? This holiday season, provide them with the code BTC for manscaped.com, or you yourself could go there and get 20% off when you use the code BTC at checkout and give the gift of healthy hair down there this year. Manscaped.com, code BTC. So, yeah, I mean, as far as the Rockets go, and as far as John Wall goes, and as far as Silas goes, and as far as whether or not he should be fired, and blah, 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 all these conversations, like, I don't know. And nobody really needs to be focusing on the Rockets with that level of detail right now. This season is about growth. And not exponential growth. We're not going to win 40 games. We've won like 2, I think. Maybe. There's not a lot of winning going on right now. And winning is what's fun about sports, right? So we band together and we try to get some laughs during the bad times. That's how the humans do. And that's how we're going to do. That's how Houston does. And that's how we always get through, because we're Houston strong, and it's fuck everyone, suck our dicks all day long. Even in, like, this is the thing that you have to, the flip side of this is if you embrace these, like, downturns in the sports world for your teams, with the Texans, with the Rockets, if you dig in, if you maintain your fanhood, if you learn about the players and the franchise and take that opportunity to sort of invest emotionally into the core, the dividends can be 2017-esque, right? We went through shit with the Astros to get back to the top. And it was glorious and worth it. And we're still fucking there, frankly. Been to 3 World Series in 5 fucking years. It worked. Now we have to see if it can with the Rockets and pray that Cal McNair sells the Texans to someone else in Houston. Because I just don't think it's ever going to happen with them. That's not even a joke. That's not even a bit. I legitimately do not see how the Texans can turn around without an ownership change. That is not a bit. It's the thing. Every time we discuss the Texans, as long as Cal McNair remains breathing our fucking air, I will bring up that I do not think this team can succeed long term because the ownership is inept. Fortunately for us as Houstonians and Houston sports fans, that is not the case with the Rockets, and that is not the case with the Astros. And for that, this Thanksgiving, we can all be thankful. As I am thankful for each and every one of you who has listened to today's episode and listened to our show at all so far. We appreciate you. Follow us everywhere at Banging the Can on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram. When you see our posts, like, share, comment, send them to your friends. Tell your family this Thanksgiving about Banging the Can. You're going to be all together now. Your uncles, your aunts, your dads, your moms, you're giving out bad sports takes. You're just dishing them left and right, along with food, burps, and other bodily functions. Choose those carefully, by the way. Tell them about the show. Share Banging the Can with the people you know and love this Thanksgiving season when you're back home in Houston or traveling around the United States to see those who maybe are Houstonians that have moved. Is the best my brain can do with it right now. I am Ross Bolen. You can follow me at WRBOLEN, at WRBolen on Twitter and Instagram. I have a comedy and mental health show called The Ross Bolen Podcast, where we talk about a lot of current events, a lot of random life observations. It's just a comedy show. It's a comedy show that delves into serious topics on occasion, and it's called The Ross Bolen Podcast. We also have a TV and film podcast here at Bolen Media called Oysters, Clams, and Cockles that is available wherever you listen to Banging the Can as well. If you want the best shows and movies weekly from myself and one of my best friends of 20 years, Barrett Dudley, you can get those on OCC, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, each and every week. We're watching Succession right now. It's been fun. We got a lot going on here at Bolen Media. We appreciate your support this holiday season and appreciate that. The best way you can do that is by supporting our sponsors. Again, you love sports as much as I do. You bet on sports. You will love our sponsor, BetQL Daily. BetQL Daily. Go listen now to Joe and Joe. They're fun, authentic, great insights, and keep you, with your pulse on the market, on the sports betting market. And manscaped.com, of course, with the code BTC for 20% off to get all the man maintenance tools that you or the man in your life need to stay fresh and clean, like Outkast. Look, I did a rap reference. How do you do, fellow kids? This might be the last time I ever get to wear this hoodie. I'm going to relish in this moment for a second. Tyrod Taylor. It's football time in Houston. Do they still play that song before the games? Do people laugh now? It was almost funny when we were good. But now that we're legitimately embarrassing, does that... And we're ready to play. Dude, you know what it is that's the worst part about being a Texans fan? And the reason I call out Cal McNair as often as I do, Cal McNair. Our coaching staff is insufferable. Our GM is one of the most unlikable humans I've ever watched on camera. David Culley is a coward. In all seriousness, Culley sucks. Culley's so bad. Yo, his press conference, this man, Cal McNair, cannot, the McNairs can't hire. Remember Bill O'Brien pressers, how you would just leave every single one crushed? No matter what happened, good or bad on the field, you left every Bill O'Brien press conference knowing, down inside somewhere, that we were doomed because he was ass. When I watch Culley, it's somehow worse. It's like if Bill O'Brien was too pussy to actually, fuck us. You know what I mean? That's how it feels when I watch Culley. It's like he can't even tell us to our face that we suck. Like he's like, we only do positivity in this building, and everybody knows. Like, we only stay positive. It's like, bro, there's positivity, and then there's the need for reality and realistic expectations and goals. And that's the only way you can grow. You can't just go... nobody's DJ Khaled. We the best. You can't just yell that shit over and over and it fucking happens. You got to put the work in. And to put the work in, you got to have realistic goals. And to have realistic goals, you can't just preach positivity all the time. You got to get real with your players. Culley is not that guy, pal. And this fucking jackwagon on methamphetamine that they've got running the show, our GM, what's his name? I can't even remember right now. His fucking eyes they're like burned into my eyes, and I can just see his face, but I can't. Texans GM is a quick Google that I can do. Nick Caserio, lay off the Addy. Did somebody hit him with a hammer? He's like a cartoon character that's recently been hit with a hammer and is still reverberating across the screen. Dude, we see the fear in your eyes. What? That's the guy? That's the guy? And then the fucking earthworm Jim of evangelicals? Jack Easterby? It is a nightmare. It's like the Monstars of shitty football people. The dream team of woats. That's who's running the show. Caserio's pressers and interviews are legitimately entertaining for the wrong reasons, like a really bad movie that's so bad that it's good. Like, I can't look away from the just absolute lack of ideas. Like, that's just, I don't know what the fuck else to say. It's just hilariously sad, the Texans, at this point. And because we're in the heart of the NFL season, and because it's Thanksgiving weekend, it does feel like we need to take a moment to put our finger on the pulse of the Texans franchise, be realistic with each other, with our friends and our families. Let us not go forth this weekend of thanks and spread propaganda, pretending that our franchise is headed in the right direction, or that Tyrod Taylor might be good just because we won a game against one good team, or that Deshaun Watson might come back or not sign with Miami and then later rack up more masseuse allegations. Let's not do that. Let's be real with each other and thankful for what we do have, which is a 2017 championship ring, a Rockets team that has draft picks and young talent for the first time in a decade. Yao was the last time we built from a core rookie, and we're doing that for the first time in forever. And the Astros are still a top 3 team in baseball. Thank you, Sports Jesus and Easter Bunny. But fuck you, Easter B. Somebody get Caserio some pot. He needs pot this Thanksgiving. Someone give Nick Caserio a joint to smoke so he'll chill. I want his eyes to be more James Harden and less Bug next time I see him. And if you can't do that, sir, I'm wearing sunglasses right now for a reason. You can do the same. P. Diddy has done it his entire career for a reason. You're scaring the children, Nick. Put those peepers away. I'm Ross Bolen, and this has been Banging the Can. Happy Thanksgiving.